The collision of past and present Isabella Moretti stood before the floor-length mirror in her Boston apartment, adjusting the delicate sapphire necklace that rested against her collarbone. The piece was one of her own designs, and wearing it tonight felt like armor. She needed every bit of confidence she could muster for the Wellington Foundation Gala, the most prestigious charity event of the season. 3 years had passed since she'd fled New York with a broken heart and shattered dreams. 3 years of rebuilding herself from the ground up, of transforming pain into purpose. Her jewelry design business had finally taken off, and tonight she would be showcasing her collection to Boston's elite. Everything she'd worked for was finally falling into place. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister Sophia. "You look stunning. Don't let anyone make you feel less than amazing tonight. Love you." Isabella smiled softly, grateful for the unwavering support. Sophia had been there through the darkest days, had held her while she cried, and had pushed her to keep moving forward when all she wanted to do was disappear. The ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel glittered like something out of a dream. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing lights across marble floors, and the city skyline sparkled through massive windows. Isabella moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting compliments on her jewelry and making connections with potential clients. She felt alive, powerful, in control. Then she saw him. Alexander Kane stood across the room, a glass of whiskey in his hand, deep in conversation with a group of investors. He looked different somehow. His dark hair was shorter, his jaw more defined, and there was a hardness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. He wore power like a second skin, commanding attention without even trying. Isabella's heart stopped, then raced so fast she thought she might faint. This couldn't be happening. Boston was supposed to be her safe haven, her escape from everything that reminded her of him. What was he doing here? As if sensing her gaze, Alexander looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and the world seemed to tilt on its axis. She watched recognition flash across his face, followed by something fierce and hungry that made her knees weak. He started moving toward her, cutting through the crowd with single-minded determination. Isabella panicked, turning quickly and heading for the balcony doors. She needed air, needed space, needed to think. The cool night breeze hit her flushed face as she stepped outside onto the empty terrace. She gripped the railing, trying to steady her breathing, trying to remember all the reasons she'd left him behind. "Running away again, Isabella?" His voice, deep and rough, sent shivers down her spine. She closed her eyes, gathering her courage before turning to face him. "Alexander, I didn't know you'd be here. Would you have come if you'd known?" He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, the same one that used to make her dizzy with desire. Probably not. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "At least you're honest." "That's more than you were 3 years ago when you disappeared without a word." The accusation stung, but she kept her composure. "I left a note." "A note?" His voice rose slightly. "You left a 3-line note saying you needed space and then vanished. You changed your number, moved cities, blocked me everywhere. That's not space, Isabella. That's erasure." "It was what I needed to survive," she said quietly, meeting his gaze. "Loving you was destroying me, Alexander. Your mother made that very clear." His jaw tightened. "My mother had no right to speak to you the way she did. If you'd told me what she said, I would have—" "You would have what? Chosen me over your family? Over your company? We both know that wasn't going to happen." Isabella shook her head. "I saved us both the pain of that impossible choice." "You decided for both of us." He moved closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "You didn't give me a chance to fight for you?" "I didn't want you to fight for me." The lie tasted bitter. "I wanted to be free. Are you?" His eyes searched her face. "Free? Because you look just as haunted as I feel." The truth of his words hit her hard. She had built a successful business, had created a new life, but she'd never stopped thinking about him. Every accomplishment felt hollow because he wasn't there to share it. Every date with someone else ended in disappointment because they weren't him. "Why are you in Boston?" she asked, changing the subject. "I'm investing in a tech startup here. Marcus convinced me it was worth the trip." He paused. "But the moment I saw your name on the gala guest list, I knew the real reason I needed to come." Her breath caught. "Alexander, don't what?" Don't tell you that I never stop thinking about you, that I've compared every woman I've met to you and they all fall short, that I've been waiting for 3 years for you to come back?" His hand rose, almost touching her face before he dropped it. "I deserve answers, Isabella. I deserve to know why you really left." Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Your mother told me I was a distraction, a liability. She said I came from nothing, had nothing to offer you except my body. She said if I truly cared about your future, I'd remove myself from it." Alexander's face went pale, then red with anger. "She had no right." "She was right, though." Isabella's voice cracked. "I was a jewelry maker from Brooklyn working in her first gallery show. You were Alexander Kane, heir to a fortune, destined for greatness. What could I possibly offer you except scandal? Everything." The word came out fierce. "You offered me everything that mattered. Joy, laughter, passion, peace. You made me feel like a person instead of a chess piece in my mother's games." "Past tense," Isabella noted sadly. "You're talking in past tense because you left." He stepped even closer, and now there was barely any space between them. "You took all of that with you when you disappeared." The balcony door opened, and a couple stepped out, laughing. The spell broke. Isabella took a step back, wrapping her arms around herself. "I should go back inside. I have clients to meet." "Isabella, wait. Congratulations on your success, Alexander. I'm glad you're doing well." She moved past him, but he caught her wrist gently. "This isn't over. I'm in Boston for the next month. I'm not letting you disappear again without a fight." She looked down at his hand on her wrist, at the familiar way his fingers curved around her skin. Some things are better left in the past, and some things are worth fighting for. His thumb stroked the inside of her wrist, and she felt the touch all the way to her core. "I let you go once. I won't make that mistake again." Isabella pulled away, her heart pounding. "You don't get to decide that. Neither do you. Not alone." His eyes held hers. "We both get a say this time, Isabella. And I'm saying I want you back in my life. In whatever way you'll let me." She fled back into the ballroom, her composure cracking. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. She smiled, she networked, she made sales, but her mind was entirely focused on the man standing across the room, watching her with an intensity that made her feel naked despite her elegant gown. When she finally made it home hours later, she collapsed on her couch, still wearing her dress and jewelry. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I got your new number from the gala organizers. Don't block me this time. We need to talk. Dinner tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Carver's on Newbury Street. I'll be there whether you come or not. Alexander." Isabella stared at the message for a long time. She should decline, should maintain her boundaries, should protect the life she'd built. But a part of her, the part that had never stopped loving him, wanted desperately to say yes. She didn't respond that night. But she didn't block the number either. And when 7 o'clock the next evening approached, she found herself standing in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear to a dinner she had absolutely no business attending, because Alexander Kane was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The battle between heart and head Isabella arrived at Carver's at 7:15, telling herself the delay was due to traffic and not because she'd changed her outfit 3 times. She'd settled on a simple black dress, elegant but not too formal, paired with a silver bracelet from her own collection. Armor disguised as jewelry. Through the restaurant's windows, she could see Alexander already seated at a corner table, his attention focused on his phone. Even from outside, he looked commanding, like he owned not just the table, but the entire establishment. Her stomach fluttered with nerves and something more dangerous, something she'd tried to bury for 3 years. The hostess led her through the dimly lit restaurant, and Alexander stood the moment he saw her approaching. His eyes traveled over her slowly, appreciation clear in his gaze. "You came," he said, his voice warm with relief. "I shouldn't have." Isabella sat down, accepting the menu from the hovering waiter. "This is a mistake." "Then let's make it together." Alexander dismissed the waiter with a gesture, keeping his attention entirely on her. "You look beautiful." "You always did, but there's something different now. More confident. 3 years of building a life without you will do that." She hadn't meant it to sound bitter, but it came out that way. "I looked you up," he admitted. "Your jewelry line is impressive. The feature in Vogue last month was well-deserved. You've made a real name for yourself." Despite herself, Isabella felt a flush of pride. "Thank you. It wasn't easy, but I'm proud of what I've built." "You should be." He leaned forward, his expression serious. "Isabella, I owe you an apology. Not for what my mother said, I can't control her poison, but for not fighting harder when you left. I should have tracked you down, demanded answers, refused to let you go without a real conversation. I didn't want to be found. I know, but I should have tried anyway." His hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers. "I was angry, hurt, confused. I convinced myself that if you wanted to leave, I had no right to stop you. But I was wrong. Love doesn't work that way. You don't just give up when things get hard." The waiter returned, and they ordered mechanically, neither really caring about food. When they were alone again, Isabella finally spoke. "Your mother wasn't entirely wrong, Alexander. We came from different worlds. The press would have destroyed me, your family already hated me, and I had nothing to bring to your life except complications. Stop." His voice was firm. "Stop diminishing yourself. You brought everything that mattered. Do you know what the last 3 years have been like for me? I built my company into a billion-dollar empire. I've been featured on magazine covers, spoken at conferences worldwide, made investments that changed entire industries. And none of it, not one single achievement, meant anything because you weren't there to share it with." Tears pricked Isabella's eyes. "That's not fair." "You can't put that on me. I'm not. I'm putting it on us, on what we had and what we threw away." He finally took her hand, his fingers lacing through hers. "Isabella, I've dated other women. Tried to move on, but every single one of them was just a shadow of you. I'd hear their laugh and wish it was your laugh. I'd see them smile and remember how your smile used to light up my entire world. Alexander, please." Her voice broke. "Don't do this." "Why not?" "Because it's uncomfortable? Because it's honest?" His grip tightened gently. "I spent 3 years being polite, being appropriate, being the man everyone expected me to be, and I've been miserable. So excuse me if I'm done playing it safe." Their food arrived, but neither touched it. The conversation had gone too deep to stop now. "What do you want from me?" Isabella asked finally. "Closure? Forgiveness? A second chance? All of it." His answer was immediate. "I want to understand what really happened. I want you to forgive me for not protecting you from my mother's cruelty. And yes, I want a second chance. I want to take you to dinner without it being a mistake. I want to call you and hear about your day. I want to be part of your life again, in whatever way you'll allow." "It's not that simple. Nothing has changed." "Your mother still hates me. Your world is still incompatible with mine. And I've built a life here in Boston that doesn't include you. Then I'll move to Boston." His response was so casual, so immediate, that Isabella's jaw dropped. "You can't just move cities for me? Why not? My company is virtual. I can work from anywhere. Marcus has been wanting to open a Boston office anyway. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't relocate." "Because it's insane. Because we haven't seen each other in 3 years, and one dinner doesn't erase all that time apart." "You're right." He sat back, studying her. "So let's not rush. Let's take it slow. Let me court you properly this time. No sneaking around, no hiding from my family, no pretending we're just casual. Real dates, real conversations, real honesty about what we both want." Isabella's heart hammered in her chest. Everything logical in her brain screamed to run, to protect herself, to remember how much it had hurt the first time. But another part, the part that had never stopped loving him, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this could work. "I need time to think about this," she said finally. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." He signaled for the check. "But while you're thinking, consider this. We were both different people 3 years ago. Younger, more afraid, less sure of ourselves. But we've both grown. Maybe the timing is finally right." They left the restaurant together, stepping out into the cool Boston night. Alexander's car was waiting, but he made no move to get in. "Can I walk you home?" he asked. No ulterior motives. "I just want a little more time with you." Against her better judgment, Isabella nodded. They walked through the city streets in surprisingly comfortable silence. Being near him felt both familiar and strange, like slipping into an old favorite sweater that no longer fit quite right but still brought comfort. "Tell me about your life here," Alexander said eventually, "beyond the business success. Are you happy?" Isabella considered the question carefully. "I'm content. I have good friends, a beautiful apartment, work I'm passionate about. But happy? I don't know if I've been truly happy since—" She trailed off, unable to finish. "Since us," he completed quietly. "Me neither." They reached her building, a renovated brownstone in Back Bay. Isabella turned to face him, suddenly nervous. "Thank you for dinner. Thank you for coming." He made no move to leave. "Isabella, I know I'm asking a lot. I know you have every reason to protect yourself. But I need you to know something. I'm not the same man I was 3 years ago. I've learned what matters, and you matter more than anything else." Before she could respond, her phone rang. It was Sophia, her sister's name flashing on the screen. "I should take this," Isabella said apologetically. "Of course. I'll see you soon?" There was hope in his voice. Maybe. It was all she could commit to. She watched him walk away, his tall frame disappearing into the night, before answering her phone. "Bella, where have you been?" "I've been calling for hours!" Sophia's voice was frantic. "I was at dinner." "What's wrong?" "It's Mom. She fell at home. She's in the hospital. They think she broke her hip. You need to come back to New York right away." Isabella's world tilted. Her mother, her anchor, the woman who'd raised her and Sophia alone after their father died, injured and alone in a hospital. "I'm coming. I'll catch the first train in the morning. There's a late train tonight at 11. Can you make it?" Isabella looked at her watch. She had 40 minutes. "I'll make it." She hung up and rushed inside to pack, her mind spinning. New York. She'd sworn she'd never go back. That city held too many painful memories. But family came first. 20 minutes later, she was in a taxi heading to South Station when her phone buzzed. "Alexander, I heard about your mother. Marcus's assistant's cousin works at that hospital. Small world. I'm so sorry. Do you need anything?" Isabella stared at the text, amazed. Even now, even after everything, he was looking out for her. "Thank you. Catching the 11 p.m. train to New York." "I'll be fine." His response came immediately. "I'll be on that train. Don't argue. You shouldn't be alone right now." And true to his word, when Isabella boarded the train, exhausted and worried, Alexander was already there, holding 2 cups of coffee and a look of such genuine concern that her carefully constructed walls began to crumble. "You didn't have to do this," she said, taking the coffee gratefully. "Yes, I did." He gestured to the empty seat beside him. "Sit. Tell me about your mother." And so, as the train rolled through the night toward New York, Isabella found herself opening up. She told him about her mother's strength, about raising 2 daughters alone, about the sacrifices she'd made. Alexander listened intently, asking questions, sharing stories of his own complicated family. "My mother isn't a bad person," he said at one point. "She's just so consumed by legacy and appearances that she forgets people aren't chess pieces. After you left, I tried to make her understand how much she'd hurt you, but she couldn't see it. She genuinely believed she was protecting me." "Maybe she was," Isabella said quietly. "Maybe I wasn't strong enough for your world. Or maybe my world wasn't good enough for you." He turned to face her fully. "Isabella, I've thought about this endlessly. You didn't leave because you weren't strong enough. You left because you were strong enough to walk away from something that was hurting you. That takes more courage than staying." The train pulled into Penn Station at 2 in the morning. They shared a cab to the hospital, and Alexander waited in the lobby while Isabella went up to see her mother. Catherine Moretti looked small in the hospital bed, her usually vibrant face pale with pain. But her eyes lit up when she saw her daughter. "Mihija," she said softly. "You came." "Of course I came, Mama." Isabella took her hand gently. "How are you feeling?" "Like I fell downstairs at 65, her mother said with a weak laugh. "The doctors say I'll need surgery, then physical therapy. Sophia has been here all evening, but I sent her home to rest." They talked quietly for a while, Isabella filling her mother in on the details the doctors had shared with Sophia. Finally, her mother squeezed her hand. There's something different about you tonight. Even worried and exhausted, you seem lighter somehow. Isabella hesitated, then decided honesty was best. Alexander is here, in the city. He rode the train with me from Boston. Her mother's eyes widened. Alexander Kane? The one who broke your heart? The one whose heart I broke too, Isabella corrected. It's complicated, Mama. Love usually is. Her mother's gaze was knowing. Do you still love him? The question hung in the air. Isabella had spent 3 years trying to convince herself the answer was no. But sitting here, knowing he was waiting downstairs simply because she needed support, the truth was undeniable. Yes, she whispered. I never stopped. Then what are you doing in here talking to me? Go down there and tell him. Her mother's voice was firm despite her pain. Life is too short for pride, Mija. I learned that when your father died. Don't waste time pretending you don't feel what you feel. Isabella kissed her mother's forehead. Get some rest. I'll be back in the morning before your surgery. She found Alexander in the waiting room, his tie loosened, his expensive suit rumpled from the long night. He stood when he saw her. How is she? She'll be okay. Surgery tomorrow, but the doctors are optimistic. Isabella took a deep breath. Alexander, thank you. For being here, for the support, for everything. You don't have to thank me. This is what you do for people you... He stopped himself. For people you care about. What were you going to say? Isabella asked softly. Before you corrected yourself? Alexander looked at her for a long moment, his eyes holding hers. For people you love. This is what you do for people you love. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. I love you too, Isabella heard herself say. I tried not to. I tried to forget you, to move on, to convince myself what we had wasn't real or wasn't worth the fight. But I was lying to myself. I've loved you from the moment we met, and I never stopped, not even when I wanted to. Alexander closed the distance between them in 2 strides, cupping her face in his hands. Say it again. I love you. Tears streamed down her face now. I'm terrified, and this is probably a huge mistake, but I love you, Alexander Kane. He kissed her then, soft and deep and full of 3 years of longing. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. We'll figure it out, he murmured against her forehead. My mother, your fears, the distance, all of it. We'll figure it out together this time. No more running, no more hiding. Just us, being honest about what we want and fighting for it. Together, Isabella agreed, leaning into his embrace. As dawn broke over New York City, they stood together in that hospital waiting room, no longer the same scared people who'd let each other go 3 years ago. They'd both been broken and rebuilt themselves. And maybe, just maybe, they could finally build something together that would last. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Alexander's mother would still disapprove, the press would still scrutinize them, and they'd still have challenges to overcome. But they'd face it all together this time, stronger and wiser from the years apart. Sometimes love isn't enough the first time. Sometimes people need to grow separately before they can grow together. Sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what truly matters. And sometimes, when a billionaire walks back into your life, the bravest thing you can do is let your heart tremble, let yourself feel, and choose love despite all the reasons not to. Because in the end, love isn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances. It's about 2 imperfect people refusing to give up on each other, no matter how many times they fall. And as the sun rose over the city where their story began, Isabella and Alexander made a silent promise. This time, they would get it right. This time, they would choose each other, every single day, no matter what.